So what I have up here is I have 3x to the fourth plus 4x squared. How did this happen again? Jeez. 3x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 2. And what they say is we have one factor. 3x plus 1 is a factor of this polynomial. That means this number divides into that polynomial, right? So let's prove it and make sure and see how many times it divides into there. So remember, when we're doing synthetic division, we always took our factor. And I'm going to explain more why we always set it equal to 0 in a second. But we solve for x. Therefore, when using synthetic division, we're going to say we're going to use negative 1/3 outside of our box. So that means our synthetic division problems are going to deal with some fractions. All right. So then the next step we're going to do is make sure, and notice this is linear. It's linear and it's a binomial, so that's why I can use it for synthetic division. Then we just make sure this is in standard form, and we write our coefficients. So we have 3, 4, -5, and -2. So remember, the process goes, bring down the first number, which is 3. 3 times negative 1/3. Well, those are reciprocals of each other. And one's positive, one's negative. So therefore, I'm going to have a -1. So therefore, 4 plus a -1 is a positive 3. 3 times negative 1/3 gives you a -1. -5 plus -6 is going to be, or -1, is a -6. -6 times negative 1/3 is now going to give you a positive 2. -2 plus 2 gives you a 0. So was that bad? No. Okay, you guys, you see fractions and you're like, oh, I'm just not going to do it. It wasn't as bad. So now let's write it. So we say remainder, constant, linear, quadratic. So our formula is 3x squared plus 3x minus 6. That times this gives you our binomial. I'll say it, our polynomial. Again, I'll say this divides into this many times. Meaning this times this gives you that. Right? However, I'm asking you to find all of the factors. And so I don't want just the factors, that two numbers that factor. I want to find all of the linear factors. So we need to see, can we factor this even further? So let's check it out. Let's try. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into two binomials. Well, I know the first two numbers have to multiply to give me 3x. So that means one number has to be 3x and the other number has to be x. Now our issue comes into, now you could do the diamond, but I'm not going to work through the diamond. I'm just going to work this a little bit quicker. Now the next thing is going through is, what two numbers multiply to give you -6? Well, there's a couple, right? You could do -6 and 1, -1 and 6. You could do -3 and 2, -2 and +3. But what we notice is when we multiply them, we need to add them up to a positive 3x. All right. So, well, let's look at 3 and 2. We know that -3 plus 2, right? That could be an option, right? Because -3 times 2 gives you a -6. So what we're going to do to check our work is we know that the first give us our first term in our trinomial, and the last give our last term in the trinomial. And when we combine the outer and the inner, that gives us our middle term. So does -3x plus 6x give us a positive 3x? Yeah. Right? Yeah, so that works. So therefore, that times that is your factor. And somehow I just picked up the right answer.